Hello friends, and welcome to another video lesson from DBOS Talks. If you haven't subscribed yet, please click subscribe and click the bell so that you can be notified of new uploads. This is the second video in a playlist called Serious Fun with SQL, and here we will be learning how to do language translation using SQL. This is a simplified example, but will nevertheless be eye-opening for some of us. So we will be using the services of the website livesql.oracle.com. If you have seen my previous video, you will remember that you will need an Oracle account to be able to use this website. So after you log in, you'll come to this page where you have a live SQL worksheet. Okay, so let's get it on. The first thing you do. So again, I'll be showing you how to do simple language translation using SQL. The first thing you will do is create a table. So you'll create a table, and initially I will create this table. Actually, the table has already been created, but I'll just show you the SQL that were used for this demo. So I created a table called languages, and it has only two columns. The first one, ENG, meaning English. It has a data type of varchar2, length of 30 characters or letters. The second column is Phil, short for Filipino, and also varchar2 30. So as you can imagine, if you wanted to support some other languages, you can just create a table with such number of columns, one for each supported language. So in this very simplified demo, I will be creating, in fact, I created this table already, and it only has two columns because it supports these two languages. Okay, so that's the first part, to create this table that supports the languages that you wanted to support. That's step one. Step two is you will insert some data into the table. So this is a straightforward insert statement. You can look it up. You can Google it. It's a very simple statement. So this is a DML statement, data manipulation language statement, used for inserting records into the table. So insert into languages. Languages being, if you remember the first part we created a table. I'll put it here. So if you remember, we created a table for languages. After creating the table, it's initially empty, of course. The second part is to insert some data into the table, some records. So I'm doing it here. Insert into table name, and then values. There's a keyword, and then you specify the values of those columns, meaning for column ENG, I'm giving this value of am. For column fill, I'm giving this value of, it's pronounced as I. Okay, so inserting those records, only a few. And then after inserting those records, I will do a commit. Commit is an SQL command to do a save of your database changes. Okay, so you create a table, insert the records. Now that you've done those two steps, the next you will do is to make sure the table isn't empty, that they have that those records have in fact been inserted. Okay, so when I click on run, okay, now I just move this up. Okay, so when we query the table, select asterisk from languages, which is the table name, it returned 3 rows. And the table has two columns, which we have created earlier. These are the columns, ENG and fill, ENG, which is for English, and then there are 3 records. Okay, so now we're sure the table has been created and it's not empty. The next thing we will do is a bit of the hard work. So let me get it. So I will in fact create a function. So a function, you can say it's a piece of code, PLSQL code, which will perform some logic. But besides doing that, because it's a function in SQL, it means it's a piece of code, SQL code, which will return a value. Okay, so this is just the syntax of creating this in Oracle. So create to replace function. This is the function name. I called it translate this. And then I have this input parameter called, I call it P underscore before translation. It's an in, it's a varchar2, that's the data type of the input parameter. It will return a value with a data type of varchar2. And then below it is this section over here I'm highlighting is for variable declarations. So these are just variables that I'll be using in the function. Before translation, meaning the bunch of words I'm gonna feed it that will need to be translated. After translation is, of course, the translated value of the input string. Len is just meaning length of the string to be translated, current word. So these are variable declarations. After the declarations, we have the begin, which is the executable part of the code. So we have a loop here. Don't worry about it. I'm just showing you that the capability of SQL to do even translation. So it will do this. Okay, so if position in space greater than 0, then it will do this kind of thing. So remove translated word from string. Okay, current word. So it will be looping. It will receive an input of a word or even more than one word, even a sentence, which are naturally separated by spaces. If you have a sentence, if you have, there are spaces in there. And it will process it using this function, and it will output translation. So if you remember, the first thing we did was to create a table, and then we inserted some data into that table, and then we queried the table to make sure it's not empty. The values are how we expect them to be. And then the fourth step we did was to create the function. Okay, so now the function has been created. In fact, I've already created it. I will now call the function. So in Oracle, to call a function, this is the syntax. It's a select statement, one of the ways of calling function. So select, translate this. This one is the function name. And this over here after that is the input parameter. I'm passing it a string, which I want to translate. And then this one is just an alias, it's a nickname from dual table. If you've seen my previous video, you'll remember that dual is like a dummy table in Oracle. It is a general purpose table, single column, single row table, which is used for processing something, processing expressions, formatting date, anything that you use, wherein you use a select statement, but not necessarily querying from an existing table. So, okay, let's call the function using this command. Okay, so it called the function. The input is I am happy. That's the input to the function. This is the function. Translate this. This is an alias. This is just the dummy table of Oracle. And below you will see the output. Ako ay masaya, which is Filipino for I am happy. So that's it, folks. I hope you have been able to at least gain some insight into one of the capabilities of SQL. And in this case, it is doing translation. So we did the steps. If we run through it again, what I did was, I'll paste it here. We created a table. In this case, it's just supporting 2 languages. So I'm creating a table called languages with just 2 columns in it. And then we inserted some data into the table. We did a commit to save those changes. We queried the table using the select statement to make sure it's not empty. And then we created a function. You saw the lengthy piece of code over there earlier. And then lastly, we called the function using a select statement. And by calling that, it was able to translate this phrase over here and showed it down here, translated. Okay, so I hope something new has been learned. If you haven't subscribed yet, I suggest you click subscribe, click the notification bell, and I will be seeing you in the next video.